Hello and welcome to another episode of the SMEFocus show brought to you by FactoryNOW TV. I'm your host, Chris Greenough, and every week we will focus on SMEs within the British manufacturing sector. We will discuss and analyse the challenges and opportunities facing the sector in these unprecedented times. I have worked in the sector for over 26 years and I am CCO at SDE Technology, one of the leading manufacturers of pressings and assemblies in the UK. So as you can hopefully appreciate, this show is very much for manufacturers, by manufacturers. Joining me this week, I'm delighted to be joined by James Underwood, Managing Director at Micro-Mesh Filtration Ltd. James, hello and welcome.
Good afternoon, Chris. How are you?
Fine, great to see you.
Thank you very much.
Tell us about Micro-Mesh and what you do.
Of course, yeah. So Micro-Mesh is a family business. My father started it in 1968. Yep. I've been involved in the business since 1989. So I was starting out on the shop floor and then working my way through in school holidays and weekends, yep, as I'm sure will be familiar to many family businesses out there. So yeah, I learned the hard way, learned from the bottom up and had a long apprenticeship, but you know, it stood me in good stead. So we are a business that came out of the mining industry in the UK. So when my father started the business in 68, there was 360 mines in the UK. And I would say 95% of our business was around the mining industry, either with the OEM suppliers or directly with the mines. Yep. So that's how the business was running through the late 60s, 70s and 80s. Obviously in the early 90s, about 92, when they decided that mining was no longer required in the UK, they shut a majority of the mines. So this is when I was starting to come through. So I'd been on the shop floor. I was starting to come through into sales and into the offices a little bit. And we hit a situation where we lost something like 60% of our business overnight. And we had to then start looking for other industries to go into. Fortunately for us, a lot of the engineers from mining had a very, very good background. You know, the UK coal days and the British coal days certainly promoted engineering, and you know, training was second to none. So yeah, a lot of the engineers found themselves in new situations. A lot of them went into rail, some of them went into power generation, and then a multitude of industries outside of there. So we were fortunate that we were able to pick up with some contacts that we had and had generated over the years, to move into different areas. One of the areas that I concentrated on was the rail business in the UK, particularly with the rail maintenance, the track maintenance. Yeah. And if you remember the very bad accident that happened at Hatfield, there was a lot of regulation thereafter in terms of the improvement of the rail tracks, and the rail maintenance, of which, you know, we like to think that we played some small part in terms of the efficiency of the machines. So we worked with people like Jarvis Rail at that time and Balfour Beatty, who we still work with today, or Balfour Beatty certainly, Network Rail, Switelski. We also supply into the motor industry in some small way, not in the mass motor industry, but we supply to McLaren cars, for instance. We also supply into the off-road industry, so more in industrial equipment like your T-Rex trucks, your Volvo, JCB, those kind of industries. And we tend to specialize in filtration, obviously, but in particular in the oil filtration has always been where we've kind of generated the business. And what we found was, coming out of the mining industry, we had a very strong design and manufacture background, and we carried that forward into new industries. So it was picked up extremely well that we could design, manufacture and provide a solution to the customers. In the terms of the rail maintenance, for instance, they were buying from maybe 20 or 30 different suppliers to maintain each vehicle, quite often not having the parts there when it was required. So we spent 18 months getting all the information from the old filters that they were using, and generated kits. So we created a database of all of their vehicles with a registration number, and it had the 3, 6 and 12-month kit. So we're always looking for a USP. We're always looking to try and generate something that's slightly different to our competitors. In more recent times, in 2016, we purchased a company called Eurofilter, who were based over at Bingham, part of Champion Group. And we purchased the particular area that was involved in gas turbine filters. So we now, although it's very different to what we've been producing in terms of the size of the filters, it's still manufacturing. Still manufacturing. So we turned our hand and we improved the processes. We looked at the designs of the filters and added some input into there. So now we manufacture these filters, and they can be anywhere from, in terms of a production run, it could be anywhere from 50 up to 15, 20,000. So it's very different to what we were used to previously. 50, 100, 200 at a time was where we were. So we had to set up a full production line to produce these. So that takes us all over the world. We supply into Pakistan, we supply into the Middle East, North Africa, we supply into Europe, obviously, and then we also set up a company in India in 2014. Again, coming really from the mining industry, which was still quite strong there and is today. We supply into India, but also in the gas turbines, and then obviously some of the other products that we manufacture as well. So I mean, and up to date, then during the last 12 months, as everybody has found it quite challenging. Absolutely. I think one of the first things that we actually did as a business was to sit down and say, right, where is our business? Where does it come from? How are we going to take this business forward in over the next 5 to 10 years? And one of the things that came out quite strongly was that we had quite a lot of legacy customers, where maybe the quantities were large at one time, but now they were starting to drop off. And when we analysed it, we said, well, actually, 90% of our business is coming from about 50 customers. And during the previous 12 months, we dealt with 250 customers. So, it was quite an eye-opener, really. But what we didn't want to do was just to kick these customers into touch. We wanted to come up with a different strategy in how we could deal with them. So we actually set up an online platform, and we launched that at the end of last year, called Filter Finder, whereby customers who are ordering slightly less of the product can go online, they can order, find exactly what they need, and then they can order directly from the website. Same quality of product, still get the same service, but it means that internally we're not having to process that order in the same way. And that really is a big growth area for us. Your Filter Finder is where we're now concentrating quite a bit of our efforts, and we certainly see it over the next 12 months growing at a significant rate, as we've seen over the last sort of 3 to 6 months. And then we're looking to expand that out into Europe and to the rest of the world with the distributors that we have. So it's been challenging, as I'm sure everybody listening to this will understand. But you have to analyze your situation and take the best from it. So I do feel that we've moved forward as a business over this last 12 months. I think we're now much more efficient. I think we've bought some new equipment as well, which have helped us out in the factory floor. One of the things that came out, particularly during the times when we had people on furlough, was that we needed to de-skill some of the jobs that we had, because obviously you tend to rely on 1 or 2 employees operating that machine, and it might have its little quirks that they know about, but trying to bring somebody else into that becomes quite difficult. So we've brought a lot more automation in and plan to, over this sort of next 2 years, automate and de-skill some of the areas, not to get rid of people, but just to have more flexibility within our workforce, I think is the biggest key.
Fantastic. And you mentioned your USP. You do a lot on kitting, as you mentioned, but you also do a lot on branding, and you also do a lot through to fuel polishing. Can you explain that side of the business? Yeah,
so we get involved in all kinds of filtration. Branding is a big part for us. So Micro-Mesh filtration isn't particularly well known in the market, I would say, amongst our peers. We would like to think we are, but to the wider market, it's not necessarily well known. So a lot of what we send out from here goes out with somebody else's name on. So we are producing for a lot of OEMs, and it will have their branding, which is a decision that we made many years ago, because for us, where we're good is we're good at manufacturing. We're not we have a sales team, but we're not, sales driven. We like to develop and push that forward to the people who are in the right areas to be able to sell that product. But yes, fuel polishing is obviously something that has come into being in recent times, particularly, I think over the last few years, in particular areas such as where there's generators that people will rely on in times of need, then the fuel that's stored underneath a lot of these large banks and city buildings that people are unaware of does have issues with quality and needs to be refined, ready for that time.
Absolutely. And you say, I mean, you're a leading filtration company in the UK. How are you pushing the boundaries to achieve this? Because you said last year you're getting leaner, you're putting more automation in. You can't stand still. What has kept Micro-Mesh at the forefront of the filtration business?
I think really for the size of business that we are, and we're not a huge business. We're currently running at the rate of about 6 million. So we're not a large business, but we're very nimble, I would say. And that gives us an edge over a lot of our competitors. So we are able to adapt and able to react very quickly. So a lot of what comes into us is people looking for a solution. Now, with some of the larger competitors, then that could take anywhere from 3 to 9 months, a year before they can actually do anything. We're able to get a design into being quite often within sort of 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
Now, that gives us a massive edge. We also have a huge amount of knowledge in the industry in terms of filtration. We have a lot of experience in a wide range of industries. So, from coal mining, which is extremely dirty, through to, car manufacturing, through to, clean rooms. So I think that's our expertise. And I think we like to always try and offer the customer something unique or something that's going to give them an edge with their customers. We don't just try and supply a Me Too product. Fantastic.
And in terms of supply chain issues, obviously we had Brexit at the start of the year where we had some issues getting stuff in and out of the country. Now we've got material supply chain issues in terms of not just price, but availability. Has that caused you disruption?
Yeah, certainly. It's caused everybody the issues. And I think most people are understanding the situations that are. Particularly for us, I think some of the difficulties are with some of the longer term contracts that we have, but also where we're quoting for gas turbine. So we may be quoting 15, 20,000 filter elements. We may have quoted that 18 months ago. Yeah. Now it takes a process to get that through, particularly in some of the more challenging territories, India, Pakistan, and some of the North Africa. There's a process that has to be gone through to get to the point where you actually get the order. Now, to go back at that point and say, sorry, the price has gone up 20% is difficult, because they would have to start the whole process over again. It's not just a matter of saying, okay, we'll add 20% onto it. These are all tenders. So it becomes a very challenging situation for us. So we have to look at our supply chain. We're very reliant on our supply chain, obviously, to be able to provide. We do look at stock, so we do stock here, but again, some of the parts that we have are quite large, so it becomes difficult to stock everything that we need. We have put extensions onto the factory to try and take account of that, but always it becomes difficult. But yeah, I think coming in from Europe, we've seen challenges coming in, particularly from Italy. Some parts that we have in from Italy, crucial parts that we get in from there, challenging to get them in. We've seen delays of anywhere between 7 to 10 days just in terms of actually getting the paperwork through to get that product in. Never mind the delays that are in the market for materials, so and obviously then there's the cost increases that everybody's seeing as well. Some of the crazy increases that everybody's seeing from we have stuff in from India, we occasionally get stuff in from China, and containers are just just pick a number out the air and that's what it'll be that day. Great.
Yeah, so really challenges going forward. But in terms of going forward, the rest of 2021, we're seeing record order books. We're seeing a real push back to buy British, push for reshoring. How do you see the rest of 2021 and beyond for Micro-Mesh?
For us, yeah, absolutely. I think most businesses that I speak to have taken the opportunity during the last 12 months and have become more efficient, have been looked at their processes. And I think that's now starting to reflect, as you say, in the order books. We are efficient. We are able to turn the products around, despite all of the issues going on around us at the moment. We're still managing to hit the targets. For us, the rest of the year, certainly for the next 3 to 4 months, we're almost at capacity out on the shop floor. We have separate production lines which enable us to push product in for our customers should we need to, but we're almost at capacity there. There's lots in the pipeline that's out there at the moment as well. So yeah, for us it's looking very positive. We're now bringing in some more automation, so there's some more machinery that's going to be coming in over this next sort of 3 to 6 months, which will help us again and help us long term in becoming more efficient. So yeah, it's just it's a constant battle out there, isn't it, to keep the wheels turning. But I think everybody's on the same boat. Everybody's in pushing in the right direction. And I certainly find it very useful speaking to other manufacturers, Make UK, and I find it very useful to be able to speak to other manufacturers and get a feel for how they're actually getting on at this moment in time. And I think that stands us in good stead.
Fantastic, James. Great to hear that you've got full order books. You've got investment coming to build more capacity. Keep fighting the good fight. It is a battle, but keep battling on. You're doing a fantastic job. Thank you for your time today, James. Great to catch up with you.
Thanks very much, Chris. Great to speak to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you soon. That brings us to the end of another show. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to meeting more of our brilliant SME manufacturers like James and Micro-Mesh next week, and also those involved in the sector. If you would like to get in touch with the show with a comment, a suggestion, or even to appear in a future episode, please email us tv@mtd.media. Great to talk to James, and another great show. Thank you for watching. So from me, Chris G at SDE, goodbye.